you very much, Barry. I'm State Representative Ryan Elder, and I just want to begin by thanking Project Hope and the Bay County Prevention Network and Barry for all the work that you're doing in our community. This is a crisis that has been plaguing not just this community, but the entire state and the entire country for more than a decade and a half, and it's not going to get fixed overnight. But I think that, as you can tell from the packed room that we have and the kinds of meetings that are going on across the entire state, we're all taking this very seriously now. We're all going to be working together until we no longer have to have these kinds of community interventions. I thought what I would do is begin by just talking a little bit about what has been going on at the state of Michigan. And I am a brand new state representative. I took over for my friend and predecessor, Charles Brunner, who you saw in the video, in January of this year. Beginning in June of 2015, Governor Snyder announced the creation of a bipartisan task force that focused on addressing the growing drug and opioid problem in Michigan. Opioids, as you know, are a class of drugs that include the illegal drug heroin, synthetic opioids such as fentanyl, and prescription pain relievers such as Oxycontin, Vicodin, and codeine. The task force was comprised of the Lieutenant Governor, the state's Attorney General, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and other stakeholders representing state government, the practice of medicine, law enforcement, and the judiciary. Representative Andy Shore, who represents the city of Lansing, also served as a member of the task force. The stated mission of the task force was to examine the recent trends in prescription drug abuse and to evaluate strategic options and develop a statewide action plan by the fall of 2015. By October of 2015, the task force had developed and presented to the governor 25 primary recommendations and 7 contingent recommendations in the areas of prevention, treatment, regulation, policy, outcomes, and enforcement. Among the recommendations were the following. Updating or replacing the Michigan Automated Prescription System, or MAPS, requiring registration and use of MAPS by those who are prescribing and dispensing prescription drugs. Updating regulations on the licensing of pain clinics, which is a task that's not been completed since 1978. Increasing licensing sanctions for health professionals who violate proper prescribing and dispensing practices. Providing easier access to Narcan, which is a drug that reduces the effects of the opioid overdose. Limiting criminal penalties for low-level offenses for those who seek medical assistance with an overdose. Increasing access to care through wraparound services and medication-assisted treatment programs. Requiring additional training for professionals who prescribe controlled substances. Increasing the number of addiction specialists practicing in the state of Michigan. Reviewing programs to eliminate doctor and pharmacy shopping, and requiring a bona fide doctor-patient relationship before prescribing controlled substances. Creating a public awareness campaign about the dangers of prescription drug use and abuse and how people can get help for themselves or for their family members. Increasing training for law enforcement in recognizing and dealing with addiction for those officers who do not deal directly with narcotics regularly. And considering pilot programs for the development of testing and reducing the increasing incidence of neonatal abstinence syndrome, which leads to severe withdrawal symptoms for babies born to mothers who have been using opioids. Much of the legislation that I'm going to talk about is based on these findings and the recommendations of the task force. Just a few statistics statewide and for Bay County specifically. On July 14, 2017, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services reported that overdose death from opioids other than heroin, jumped 54% between 2015 and 2016, and have more than tripled since 2012. In 2016, there were 1,365 deaths due to opioid overdoses, compared to 884 in 2015 and 426 in 2012. Overall, in 2016, opioids and heroin account for 72% of all Michigan's drug overdose deaths. In June 2015, as the video indicated, the Bay County Health Department issued a public health advisory regarding the heroin epidemic in our area. While 27 people died of heroin overdoses in Bay County throughout 2015, Bay County law enforcement officers responded to 199 overdose calls between January 1 and December 22nd of 2015. And it may be important to note that in response to these numbers, the Bay County Heroin Task Force was formed to address the following: law enforcement and courts, treatment providers, and public health and prevention issues. Earlier this year, I had the opportunity to vote on a package of bills which passed the State House with 105 yes votes to 2 nay votes, so clearly had very powerful bipartisan support. And I'm just going to touch upon these a little bit. House Bill 4403 allows eligible Medicaid individuals to receive medically necessary detox services and substance use disorder residential treatment for opioid addiction. We passed House Bill 4405, which would allow a pharmacist to refuse to dispense a prescription for a controlled substance if the pharmacist has a reasonable and good faith belief that the prescription is being filled for a non-medical purpose. House Bill 4406 would require our governor to create the Prescription Drug and Opioid Abuse Commission, which will create guidance on the instruction of students on opioid drug abuse for the Michigan Department of Education. House Bill 4407 would require the Michigan Department of Education to make available to school districts and public school academies a model program of instruction on prescription opioid drug abuse. In addition, Sam Singh was the representative for East Lansing and is the minority caucus leader, introduced House Bill 4404, which would define and regulate pain management facilities. And the intent of the bill is to address clinics that, in fact, operate as pill mills. That bill passed the House Health Policy Committee unanimously. It is pending the full floor. It's on its second reading. We passed bills into laws after the third reading, and we hope to see that on the House floor this fall. In addition, Representative Singh introduced House Bill 4601, which places a limit on the amount of opioids a prescriber could prescribe to a specific individual. And we have some other bills that were passed last year and then are now public acts. Senate Bill 8005 from the 2015-2016 session allows a prescriber to prescribe and dispense an opioid antagonist to a school. And it also authorizes a school employee who is a registered nurse or appropriately trained to possess and administer the antagonist at a school board. Senate Bill 806 allows a school board beginning in the 2017-2018 school year to require at least 2 employees in each school be trained in the use and administration of an opioid antagonist. It authorizes a school registered nurse or trained school employee to possess this substance. And just a couple of other notable efforts. In fiscal year 2017, there is $750,000 in a one-time funding for the medication-assisted treatment program. And as my predecessor indicated in the video, there's a great deal more that the state of Michigan can do. Much of it requires funding, and it's the kind of thing that both Democrats and Republicans are going to work together and fight hard to make sure that we have in our budget going forward. So that's an awful lot of information. If anybody wants the specific bill numbers, feel free to come and talk to me, either while over there or after this. Next, I want to introduce Bay County Sheriff Troy Cunningham. Troy is, like myself, a brand new elected official, but he's certainly not new to this particular issue. Troy has served the Bay County Sheriff's Office for the past 20 years. He served as the undersheriff since 2013, right up until his election of November last year. In March of 2016, Sheriff Cunningham was named as commander of the Heroin Task Force here in Bay County. The Heroin Task Force is a three-pronged attack in the areas of law enforcement, courts, the treatment providers, and our public health prevention. And Sheriff Cunningham is going to give us an update on his activities.
We're holding that, eh?
Yeah.
Very cool. Thank you. Thank you everybody for coming out tonight. It's great to see this kind of community involvement. How many have been to other summits before? Okay, so you guys are experts on most of this, and I'm actually more interested to hear what you had to say or the questions that you have. I think we're doing those at the end, correct? For the feedback. So I'm just going to give you a little bit, and I won't delay too much because I know you've been through a bunch of these summits. But some of the big things we're seeing and doing right now, aside from just the overdoses, which we are seeing a spike on them, and it's really sporadic. It seems like, at least from where we're at, we're going, where we won't have a couple for a while, and then we'll go through a weekend where we might have 6, 7, or 8, that we're responding to. And part of it seems like, we're not just seeing the fentanyl coming in the area, the heroin coming in the area, but we're seeing fentanyl now coming in, which is much stronger than the morphines. We're seeing carfentanil coming in now, which is like 10,000 times stronger than what the morphine is. I mean, that's something that's actually used for tranquilizing elephants and large game animals. And it's got a huge street price to it. And people are using the fentanyl and stuff because it gives them a better rush, a better high is what we're seeing, and that's what they're telling us. I mean, I have a luxury of being able to go into the jail and actually talk to some of these people, and it's amazing how much it's affected them, where they go from being honor students and captains of their sports teams and that perfect child you had at home to just wrecked. I mean, it's just taken their whole life from them, it seems like, and the families as well. So just from our perspective, from law enforcement looking at it, there's a couple things we're trying to do. I mean, the big thing I think is the education part of this. We're at home, we're talking to people, and I mean, I had the pleasure of speaking with Agent Higgins from the DEA earlier too, and it's kind of one of those similar things where when the doctors are prescribing pills just because we're getting a bunch of opiates because of an injury doesn't mean we should keep taking them because we're building that addiction up, and you've seen that in the slide presentation as well. So I think with that education component, it's important. I'm trying to develop a program with the deputies where we're going to try getting into the schools a little bit and with the other area law enforcement, and I want it to be like a shocking video. Not parents, because I think there's a portion of that when they're growing up that they're in rebellion mode and they don't care if they're hurting their parents. That's part of it. But when you hear the kids talking about it, or the people that have actually used it, it seems to have more of an impact on these kids coming up. And I think until we can remove the demand, the supply is going to be around for a while. Because like I said, we're fighting these other countries that are bringing this stuff in. And the fentanyl is really scary because in the milligrams, if you think about this, like 5 to 7 pieces of salt, how small that is, that stuff's going into heroin and getting cut. And usually in a pain pill, there's 1 or 2, if you think of like a grain of salt again, how small that is what's in your pain pill. You get into 2 and more, I mean, it's going to put you into cardiac arrest or respiratory depression, and it's killing people. These guys that are dealing with stuff aren't exactly pharmacists that are out there and chemists doing everything legit like a doctor is when they're prescribing some of this stuff. So I think there's still a place for all that, but I think it's important to educate and say just because you're getting X amount of pills doesn't mean you should be taking these for a habit you have at home or something. I think that has to start back at home because with our kids, that's who's monitoring it. So as they get that way, the other thing I just wanted to touch on too, I know you guys have been hearing about Narcan and stuff, and I don't know, is everybody real familiar with how that works and what that is? Okay. I mean, our brain receptor is the way that the opiate attaches to it. Narcan goes in, it's kind of like if you wax a car, and then you spray the car, how that water just rolls off of it. That's what Narcan's doing. We've been, in Bay County, I know all the deputies on the road are carrying it, and are trained with it, and then as well as in our jail. Because we're still seeing stuff once in a while that's coming into jail. So they're trained in medical and first response stuff, but just as well now the Narcan's been available to us, and we've been using it. So some of the stats when I hear them, and talking to the health department earlier too, with 2015, we were just down from 200 deaths in Bay County. 2016 we hit 215, and in 16, we thought we were good, and it was like November, all of a sudden there was a spike where it jumped back up. We thought we were actually going to be below the other year, but they believe it was, we're getting batches of the fentanyl in. And when that stuff's coming in and it's getting cut up, and those drug dealers know which ones they are, and they're buying from the ones that have the fentanyl, or the hotter stuff, it's the better Russian stuff, they're getting it, and we'll see overdoses spike. This year right now, on track, it looks like we're going to be on par to hit 200 again. Without intervention. Weird part to me on that is if you look at the use of Narcan, I know we're over 100, so I mean that's 100 lives that we've ready Narcan in Bay County between sheriffs, EMS, the other agencies and stuff. But I mean still that's a lot. So that number actually, if it wasn't, I guess what I'm saying is for the naloxone or for the Narcans, that true number would probably be quite a bit up because I mean it is working and we are saving lives with it. The bad thing is a lot of the same people we're going to, and we've got houses we've been to 4 times. They're just overdosing, and some of them I think just these people with that addiction, the more they're doing, like you guys know from being at so many summits, the more they have to do, and so it's just creating a problem because as our undercover and our drug teams, I mean we have a deputy that's out in Bayonet that works with the state police, the city's got a Viper unit and teams and with federal agents and stuff on it. And they're out and they're extremely aggressive. And I think sometimes, for some of us, when we look at it, we think, what's law enforcement doing for us? She's not holding it. Is that from here, Eddie? Yeah. Do I have to be done or can I keep going? No, I'm just kidding. All right. No. But I think for them, when they're going out, they're having a hard time right now dealing with some of this stuff. And getting the tips and going out, and your involvement helps a ton when we're hearing that. I mean, if you're seeing stuff that's suspicious, we want to know about it. But when the drug teams are out and stuff like that, there's a ton of stuff that they're doing that doesn't hit the paper. And I think sometimes it gets frustrating, but I mean, because they're trying to take that up a couple more tiers and knock off some of these higher guys on, which I'm sure the DA may comment on too. But that's just kind of where we are. But the only other thing I just want to add real quick is, I mean, like I said, we have a red box that's in the department that is a drug take-back program. It's no questions asked, and that goes to educating at home again. Going through your medicine cupboards and stuff and seeing if you have expired meds in there or just stuff that you're not using, not anything you don't need to have in the house. I mean, we don't want you flushing that stuff down the toilet. You can bring it into the sheriff's department, drop it off in the red box. It's a no questions asked program. It goes in and we dispose of it. And the community's doing awesome with that. I mean, we're emptying that probably twice a week right now. So I appreciate that because that's definitely making an impact. And I think that's you guys telling people that that's out there. And it's just one more way to get through them. The last thing I just want to mention is another program you're going to see besides some that we're running in the jail, Angel program, the state police are doing, and they're partnering with other agencies. And that's been a good thing where people can just come into the lobby, they get help. But the Angels are actually people that are recovering. I mean, I think they got to be recovered for 2 years, I believe, before they become the counselors, but they actually help these people and walk them through all the steps as they're going through stuff. So there's a lot of stuff in the works and a lot that's going on the backside, but I'll turn it back over to the state rep. And like I said, I look forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Sheriff. As was indicated earlier, we're going to take questions at the end, and inside of your packets, there are some index cards. If you could write down your questions, we'll collect them, and we'll talk about them at the end of the event. Let's see. Very good. Next, we're going to hear from Mr. Chris Flores. Mr. Flores is the Vice President of Business Development for Sacred Heart Rehabilitation Center. Sacred Heart is a nonprofit behavioral healthcare organization with a legacy of serving those with the greatest need and the fewest resources, dating back to 1967. Sacred Heart provides an extensive array of treatments relating to behavioral health. These treatments include substance abuse, mental illness treatments, and HIV/AIDS prevention and care management. Mr. Flores?
Again, I'm Chris Flores, Business Development, as well as Director of Integrated Health. So Sacred Heart, one of the larger providers of treatment services in the state of Michigan for substance use. And all the physicians and nurses end up reporting through me as well. You have to understand and believe in the fact that addiction is a chronic relapsing brain disease. If you can't buy that, then we're going to have difficulty. We've learned so much. I've been in this field since the mid-70s, during the first epidemic that in my lifetime it really hit the urban areas after the war that came in. This one, as was stated, was really triggered by the opioid prescribing, a lot of the focus on physicians, payer sources, outcomes, managing your pain, and the whole progression that we had about the epidemiology of just medication in and of itself and how it worked. Opioids in and of itself for pain and long-nose treatment was good. It did serve its particular purpose, but it attacks the limbic system of the brain, the pleasure centers, and over a period of time. Then you had physicians that were prescribing with high-intent, short-acting opioids at that point in time, Vivitrol, for long-term pain, going into the dentist. You've heard all this. So we had to spend so much time on retraining physicians on the prescribing patterns. One of the tactics that's out there right now is trying to get physicians more in line with Boston's University Scope of Pain treatment on how to provide that. This approach that we're taking as a community in Bay City, and we've got a comprehensive approach that's in fact there, from prevention, addiction, the treatment services, and the comprehensiveness. But as well, we begin to start looking at the overdose deaths. Those are going to occur over a period of sobriety, and that sobriety is either incarceration, hospitalization, and or treatment. I just left Pontiac. I was there all this morning. The process at that jail is beginning to start looking at a comprehensive medication-assisted therapy program within their jail. Methadone, buprenorphine, Vivitrol. Judge Gill has assembled a lot of us here in the community to indicate that we have to address this particular issue as well. How we can begin to start using Vivitrol, naltrexone, a blocker. Because the statistics show that those that after incarceration that have overdosed within 90 minutes after release. So, again, understanding that during the period of sobriety, the medications that we have out there, there's treatment. Vast majority of the treatment we do is drug-free treatment, but then there's harm reduction. Harm reduction treatment buys us time. You have full agonists being methadone, and methadone is like the deep end of the pool, and where Vivitrol would be the shallow end, and then they have buprenorphine, a partial agonist, Suboxone. All this helps the new receptors from the brain. We understand that, and we have to take that approach. Now, we've got these interventions on the treatment side. The longer that you stay in treatment, the better term of recovery. Again, you have to understand where we've come in the last 40, 50 years. When treatment first started, you were an addict and in treatment for a lifetime. There was programs like Synanon where you were sent for the rest of your life. Then therapeutic communities, 18 to 24 months. Presently, we get detox for 3 to 5 days and residential treatment maximum of 21 days. So we have to be able to stabilize somebody, transition them back out, back within the community. other sorts of services, day treatment, outpatient support services. These are elected officials. And just like what we have in here, there's going to be an understanding of we have to reduce stigma. As we're beginning to address these issues, you can be looked at soft on crime, these sorts of interventions. And we have to be supportive of that. We have a lot of deaths. The other thing that Sacred Heart focuses on is high-risk pregnancies. We are your women's specialty services for this area for women that are pregnant and dependent. We have NAS babies, neonatal abstinence syndrome, occurring now about every 25 minutes. So a normal birth is about $9,000. A NAS baby is going to cost anywhere from $70,000 to $120,000. So at Sacred Heart, we're able to take women, even with their children, up to age 10, because that's typically a barrier. You need to be dependent, you need services, you have family, and our facility is in Richmond, Michigan. We're a service provider for this area. So when you come, we will, one thing is that methadone is not always the first thing, the first line of defense that we have, with the exception of pregnancy. Because at that point in time, the main thing that we want to have is a successful birth. And it's this fetal distress, using, not using, not using, that ends up causing death, premature, and we have to stabilize. And so that's very difficult for people to understand. How would you do this? How can you do this? We can detox, but the likelihood of going back out and using is, the statistics show, are very high. So we are, in fact, utilizing medication-assisted therapies in order to deal with this. We're specializing with Henry Ford as well as with Heroin, of Hopeful Hearts programs, training NICU, specialty nursery, taking women, and a lot of the training is for the healthcare professionals to reduce their level of stigma. You know, you didn't wake up one day and say, I'm going to end up being an addict and I want to have an addicted baby. And along that line, it's so dependent, there's that guilt, that going back and forth, so we have to stabilize, as well as try to get women in prenatal care and those levels of support. Our services here, we're a partner with with McLaren. We have recovery coaches in the hospital because they as well are being inundated with this particular problem. Where can we get? How can we get people connected? So McLaren has been a tremendous partner for us in this community, and you know that Your Honor will make sure that we're on task to continue this course. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Our next speaker is Mr. Ricardo Bowman. And Mr. Bowman specializes in providing guidance and coaching for individuals actively seeking recovery from substance abuse. He's delivered relapse prevention programming professionally for 11 years. And as a recovering person himself, he's insightful about the many roadblocks and challenges that may stand in the way of being successful, and helps clients find their own solutions to overcome those hurdles. As the executive director of the Peer 360 Alliance, Mr. Bowman uses his knowledge to advocate for recovery every day.
Thank you, Good afternoon. Good evening. How am I going to do this now? Okay. So first of all, my name is Ricardo Balding, and I am a person in long-term recovery. And what that means for me is that I have not ingested any alcohol or any other drugs for just under 20 years now. The last time I had anything in my body of a substance was September 4th, 1997. But then also, thank you. Importantly, what that means for me is that I've been able to live a life full of dignity and purpose, full humanity intact. I look in the mirror and I like who's looking back at me. I live a healthy and prosperous life. What that means to my family: I have a son who is 25 years old now. And my son knows he can count on me. I lived in Bay City all those years. He lived in Ann Arbor. When I told my son I'm going to come see you or pick you up for the weekend, I have not left snow, ice, rain, illness, tiredness stand in the way, my son knows he can count on me. What it also means to my family is that his mother and I have been divorced for all those years. And my son has never seen us argue. He's seen us cooperate and be good parents to him. He's been able to see me treat his mother with respect. What it means to my family as well, I've been married again now for the last 16 years. My wife has never had cause to be scared of me. She can count on me to hold up my end of the marriage contract, bring home some bacon, and be a healthy contributor to our partnership. What that means to my employer is, and the people that I serve, one of the jobs I do is a substance abuse counselor here in Bay City. What that means is when I have a schedule, people who are coming to see me can count on me being there. Since 2009, at the place I'm at right now, I believe I missed work one day because I was actually in the hospital with surgery the day after I was back there taking care of my schedule. What it means to me as a citizen. I participate fully in the voting process. I don't have bad credit. In fact, I have really good credit. In fact, the credit card company sent me some money back this month because I was ahead of the game. And I get to be a really healthy role model of good living. You know, one example of that is, I go to the YMCA on a very regular basis. I have young men in their 20s and their teens and their 30s and in their 40s and even in their 50s asking me, how do I keep it together like I do? And they say to me, I hope I can be as fit as you are when I become your age. I do that because that's the way I live. And I'm aware that without the support of substance use treatment facilities over the years and supportive recovery network, that reality, those 20 years, those examples I just cited for you would not have happened. The purpose of the Peer 360 Recovery Alliance is to do all we can to assure that others who are currently in active addiction seeking recovery get the very same chance that I have had and that many others have had as well to reclaim their humanity. In a nutshell, Peer 360 exists to put a face and voice on recovery and to make the road to recovery easier. Now, the way we do that is first of all, we're visible. We are not an anonymous program. We stand up. We make it easy for people to find us. All of our events and social activities that we deliver throughout the year are open to anyone in recovery, their families, their friends, and to the community at large. We're visible because society needs to see more positive images of what recovering lives can become and know that we are not worth giving up on, that we matter and we have much to offer the world. We do that by being vocal. We engage in the debate and in helping to provide guidance for governmental policy development to try to make sure resources are continuing to be there for people who, when they want to access services, that there's a door to walk in, a bed that they can get, that they can have, so they can begin their active journey on the recovery process. And then to also have resources that sustain and support them over time. And we stand up in forums like these. We put our face out there, we tell our stories. With that in mind, all individuals in here right now who are actively involved with Peer 360, either as a volunteer or a Peer 360 member or staff person, would you please stand up? These people do great work. Now please don't sit down yet. Don't sit down yet. If you are a person in this room who has attended a Peer 360 event, now stand up, stand up. Attended a Peer 360 event, been trained as a recovery coach, or anything of that nature, would you also please stand up? Thank you. And we also know that we're valuable, and we seek to demonstrate our value to society and to our community. We engage in activities, oftentimes with the Bay County Prevention Network and other prevention agencies throughout our region, to work to do primary prevention, to help youth avoid becoming engaging in alcohol and drugs use in the first place, and for individuals who may have already begun to start to try to impact their thinking so they can start making that exit earlier in life rather than being engaged for decades. We tell our stories so that others can know that the recovery is real and healthy life restoration is an absolute reality. And we lend our time and our energy to help currently addicted people and their families find the way forward. In that regard, I'd like to make some specific comments about the group support aspect of the services we provide. Fortunately, or unfortunately, excuse me, just like there is stigma that creates barriers to getting access to treatment and recovery services, there's also stigma that exists inside the recovery community. Way too often, people are judged because of the choices they make to pursue their recovery journey. And so, in our groups, if an individual has been introduced to recovery through 12-step programs, you are welcome in our groups. If a person is religious or not religious, we are welcome in our groups. If an individual pursues methadone as a support for their recovery journey, they are welcome in our group. If an individual is supported by Suboxone on their recovery journey, they are welcome in our group. If an individual is supported by Vivitrol or Antabuse on their journey to recovery, they are welcome in our groups. If an individual utilizes emotional health stabilizing medication for their recovery journey, they are welcome in our group. We do not judge people for their choices. All we are concerned about is help meet people right where they're at and supporting them in their process of getting better. As it says in our opening literature at our meetings, all recovery meetings, what we refer to them as, we welcome all who struggle with addiction, are affected by addiction, seeking to overcome addiction, or simply support the recovery lifestyle. Again, our mission at Peer 360 is to put a face and voice on recovery and help make the road easier for people to find their way forward. In that regard, we will be here. We will continue to increase our visibility. We will continue to grow the effectiveness of our voice. And we will continue to grow our capacity to be valuable within the recovery community and to the larger community as well. I would ask you all to, after this is over, we have volunteers, we have a table across the hall. Please see what we have to offer. Come engage with us. There's a wonderful event coming up in August. You'll see a flyer about that as well. So with that, I'm really grateful to be here. Thank you, Barry Schmidt, for inviting me.
Thank you very much, sir. There it is. Our next speaker is Agent Calvin Higgins. Agent Higgins has 27 years of service as a special agent for the Drug Enforcement Administration. He's currently the resident agent in charge of the DEA's Flint resident office. His prior assignments include Detroit, Michigan, Washington, D.C., Santa Cruz, Bolivia, and Tampa, Florida. I know that he's got a master's degree in political science from Wayne State University and is currently a PhD candidate there. Wayne State is my alma mater. And that more than makes up for his Bachelor of Arts in Criminology from the Ohio State University. Thank you, Jeanette.
First off, I'd like to say thank you for the invite to be here. It's becoming more common, but it's rare that law enforcement, especially DEA and our federal agencies, come and speak in front of crowds here. But that's what I'm here for, in a sense, to inform you that DEA is changing the perception in the sense of how we address this prescription opiate and heroin problem. The stigma with law enforcement is we're here to arrest and to arrest people, arrest them and throw away the key. We're trying to change that perception. We also have a 360-degree strategy also, and it's reaching out to law enforcement, it's reaching out to the community, and I will touch a little bit on that. There's three things I want to cover in the short time I'm here. First off, just touch a little bit on the problem, and the sheriff has hit on that, and I'm sure a lot of you are aware of the problem out here. I mean, it's in the news all the time, the prescription opiate and heroin problem. Then I'm going to touch a little bit on how did we get there, and then what can we do? And again, DEA is reaching out to the community. Our 360-degree strategy is reaching out to the community organizations, grassroots, and we're trying to add our voice to it also, because we know it's a problem, and we know it's a problem we can't wrest our way out of. It is a big problem, and as you can see by the slide there, prescription opiate and heroin, it's the most prevalent. There's misuse of prescription drugs, more than cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, MDMA, and PCP combined. It is a huge problem out there. Daily, 144 people die from drug overdoses a day, 144. 63% of those are via prescription opiates or heroin. So basically, if you look at this entire room is wiped out in one day, more than this entire room of all us sitting here, based off of drug overdoses. How do we get there? We are a society where we look to alleviate pain and anxiety through pills, prescriptions, and everything else. I call it that basically our threshold, our pain threshold, we have lowered it. We cannot handle pain in a sense. When I was growing up, when I got my wisdom teeth pulled, the strongest thing that the dentist gave me was Tylenol, prescription strength Tylenol. Today you go to a dentist, you get your wisdom teeth pulled out, the doctor's going to give you a 60-count bottle of prescription opiates. And in the sense that one statistic that CDC recently put out in 2015, the amount of opiates prescribed was enough for every American to be medicated around the clock for 3 weeks. Every American, and we're what, about 300 million Americans, a little bit over, to be medicated around the clock for 3 weeks. So when I say that, our threshold of pain has been lowered, we don't have it anymore, so we're looking for prescription opiates. I challenge everyone to go home today, check your medicine cabinets. I can almost guarantee you, majority of the people here, you check your medicine cabinets, you're going to have a prescription opiate in it. And usually it takes about 5 prescription or 5 pills usually to get over your pain, your wisdom teeth being pulled out, or an injury in your leg. And you had heard in the video there, a lot of it starts out with an injury. In high school, in soccer, you blow your knee out, or you go to a dentist, but that dentist gives you that 60-count bottle of prescription opiates. You only need 5. You're down to 55. What do? Check your medicine cabinets. What do? You put it in your medicine cabinets, you forget about it. Well, if you have someone that is addicted to prescription opiates, you're going to find out that 55 you thought you had in your medicine cabinet is now down to 50. It may be down to 45. It may not be your child, but it may be a friend of your friend, or someone who's come over to visit from a barbecue or a party or something like that. They're going into your medicine cabinets and checking it out, and an addict will find a way to get to those pills. And part of the solution that I'm going to talk about is what you can do to help stop this. Because a lot of times when law enforcement would come into community outreach or the meeting, the first question I get is, what is DEA doing? Well, we have a call to action now is, what are you doing? Because we can only do so much, but again, we can't wrest our way out of it. And we have to, together with the community, with the organizations and treatment, we can start to address this. So there's not a golden plan is not one size fit all, but all of us together, law enforcement and the community and treatment, we can start addressing this. We can start bringing this thing to a rest. Targeting supply and demand, that's where DEA fits in. We try to target this supply and demand. As you can see the statistics here, we're 5% of world, the US is 5% of the world population, but we consume 99% of the hydrocodone, 85% of the oxy. And as you can see, 80% of heroin abusers start with the opiates. There's a video out there that the DEA and FBI put together called Chasing the Dragon. And you're going to hear a lot of people, and people who are all in addiction know. A lot of people think, I will never take heroin. Yes, I'm addicted to the opiates. I can overcome them. I will never go to heroin. I will never use the needle. But you're going to find out, and the people who are in recovery can tell you even better than I can, heroin is a two-headed dragon. Physiologically and psychologically, it grabs a hold of you. If you can defeat one, you can't defeat the other. The young lady mentioned in the video how physically it was hard to get over it. It's just painful to get over heroin. And if you can defeat that, you can't get past the psychological part of it. It's a two-headed dragon. And it is just so hard to get over heroin, the heroin and opiate addiction. Solutions, cutting off supply. What's happening out there right now, it is tough. I was talking to the sheriff earlier before we started. I've been in this job, DEA, 26 years, actually been in law enforcement for 30 years altogether. I started as a police officer down in Florida after I walked across the stage at Ohio State University. But I've been in law enforcement for 30 years, and it's getting more difficult. It is. Because right now, what are we dealing with? I think it was mentioned in the previous video that we've seen ahead of time. It's no longer that mysterious dark alley drug dealer. It's no longer, and I used to tell the people in Detroit and out in the suburbs, it's no longer going down to Detroit in a seedy alley. Where is it coming from? And the addicts know the dark web, internet, China. It's been coming that way. You no longer have to go down to the street corner to go get prescription opiate, fentanyl, heroin, carfentanil. It'll come to your door. It'll come to you. The prescription opiates you can get in the mail, that dark web. You can order it via the internet, and it'll arrive right at your door. That heroin dealer, you don't have to go out and seek him. He'll seek you out. He'll come to you. Cash delivery. As I said before, it cannot be done alone by law enforcement. And that's why we're here, that's why I'm here, and that's why DEA is getting out in the community. We're trying to educate the community. We can't do it alone. So when people ask me, what is DEA doing? I turn that around and says, what are you doing? What are you doing to help it out? A lot of people here are aware, and they have friends and family that are addiction. But where's your voice? Where's your voice when you see the red flags that are occurring? Where's that voice when your doctor gives your child a 60 count bottle of prescription opiates? You know where your voice is? You can tell that doctor. Doctor, I don't need the hydrocodone. My child doesn't need that many. Can you prescribe me 5? Can you prescribe me 10? Or can you prescribe me Tylenol? I don't need that. What can you do in a sense? Like I said today, go home tonight, check your medicine cabinet. If you have unsecured prescription opiates in your house, you need to secure them. The sheriff talked about that he has a drop box at the sheriff's office, and I think MSP may have it also at the state at their post. DEA, twice a year we have a national take back. Take that medicine out of your house. Take it out of your house and deposit it into the take-back boxes. You don't need it there. And if you need it again, or if you injure yourself later on, go to your doctor and get another prescription. But again, doctor, I don't need the 60-count bottle. I need a 5-count bottle. Prevention and education is what we, and I'm happy to see this room filled here because this is part of the solution. Educate yourself. Reach out to prevention and prevention organizations. DEA's 360-degree strategy, I mentioned it to you, and then actually there's a little flyer in your folder there. What it is law enforcement, DEA will continue to go after the traffickers and the distributors of heroin, fentanyl, carfentanil. Diversion control is what DEA also does too. Those unscrupulous doctors out there that are distributing pills, the pain clinics that are distributing the pills illegally, the pharmacists that are distributing pills. We try to prevent the diversion of legal drugs to the illegal means and hands. That's what we do. And then again, community outreach, reaching out to our community partners, hand in hand, coming here and speaking with you, pulling back the veil. Because I don't know how many of you have ever spoken to a DEA agent or had a DEA agent come in front of you and speak. But this is what DEA is trying to do, to reach out. And again, the last piece is the community partnership, as I said. Enforcement would dictate the timing. In the sense of the timing is that, we're going after these traffickers. We're trying to stop it. We're trying to reach out to your communities. We're working with the sheriff and in your local agencies to try to stop what I call the predators who are preying on those who are going through addiction. Because addiction is hard, like I told you. And you can ask those who have been in it. It is tough. But when you have these predators preying on these people who are trying to go through addiction, that's where we want to step in at DEA. We want to help you as you try to transition and get through this addiction. And our job is to try to take those predators off the street. We're not here to arrest those who are in a drug addiction. We don't want to put you in jail. That's not what we're here for. But I guarantee what we're here for is we're after the predators, those preying on those who are going through this bad situation, this bad drug addiction. And again, as I said before, and I'm going to wrap it up here, DEA's call to action. Get involved, like you're doing now. Come to these heroin summits. Come and talk to DEA. Come and talk to treatment. Come and talk to education. Come and talk to your doctors. Get involved. Educate yourself, like you're doing now. And then I have another slide that's going to have some websites you can go to. Talk to your families and friends. You got to find your voice. These are your families and friends that are going through this. You see it. Talk to your child. Don't be afraid to. Talk to your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad. You have to. And then those who are having the problem, don't be afraid to seek help. You got plenty of people here who's offering this help. The state is trying to offer this help. You got to realize that, again, understand, recognize you do have a problem. Seek help. For parents, for DEA, some national resources that we throw out. GetSmartAboutDrugs.com. Parents, we offer, there's material there to help you make that, to start that conversation with your child. Also to see some of the telltale signs that addiction is occurring or drug abuse is occurring. For the teens, JustThinkTwice.com is what we direct our teens to. And again, it's information on drugs. And the dangers of drug abuse. But again, use these resources. You come to these summits looking for knowledge and education. When you walk out of here, then you got to ask yourself, what am I doing? What am I doing to help stop this? And as I close, again, one of the other local resources, as you can read here, and as you read that, and again, you ask yourself, what can you do? And I just laid out a lot of things, but one thing that you can do tonight, as I said before, when you go home, check your medicine cabinets. You have prescription opiates up there, and they're unsecure. That's one of the first things that you can do. Secure it. First off, identify it, secure it, and get rid of it if you're not using it, because that will help the problem. So that is the basic minimum thing that you can do tonight, even to help this struggle and help this problem. The questions, I think we're going to leave time for questions. But again, thank you for the invite. If there's other Heroin summits that are down the road, please use me, basically I'm saying. DEA is basically saying, we're here. We will come, we will talk. I don't care if it's 1 or 2 or 100 or 50, but please use resources and please use DEA. We're here to help, and we want to help. Thank you very much.
All right, before we get started really quick, how many of you have ever heard of the Bay County Prevention Network before tonight? You know, I did this last time, I had 5 people, so my assistant must be doing something right on Facebook, Sarah Andriati. By the way, this is being Facebook Live, so if you want to see it afterwards, it'll be on the Bay County Prevention Network Facebook page. All right, they stole a lot of my thunder, but that's okay. Before I get started any further, I just want those that are involved in the Project Hope Committee to please stand. Just so you know, we have the Bay County Health Department, Tracy Metcalf. We have Ricardo from the Fair State Pharmacy, okay. Autumn Ayala from Recovery Pathways. Janine Kravitz from Sacred Heart Rehabilitation Center. We have Terry Max from the King County Police Department. Any others that I missed? Phil Lehman, yeah, he's doing our filming today. So, I'm going to tell everybody thank you for that. All right. Just a little quick history. They hit a lot of it already, so I'm not going to get too much detail. But this all started with the task force. The task force was designed to get people to think about the problem and to come up with some solutions. If you didn't get one, there's a booklet that says Bay County Hope. And it has our executive summary. There are 10 different things that they came up with. They were on the table on the way in, so if you didn't get one on your way out. These are the 10 things that they came up with. These are the 10 things that they're working about as far as the task force. Project Hope is really a combination of all those task forces combined into one. Our chairman, Tracy Metcalf, has been involved in putting all that together. Additionally, if you look at the history, has there been prevention within the substance use regarding opiates already? We've been doing this in the schools for years. We're just one organization doing it in multiple different locations, but we know that you and everyone in here can make a difference. So I want to show you a little quick comparison here. This is the prescription drugs that are written. Look at Bay County compared to Saginaw, Midland, Clare. Look at across the spectrum. Let me give you another figure here to look at. Look at the numbers from 2009 to 2015. 7,000 more. And you can see that's not just in Bay County, that's a trend pretty much across the whole spectrum. This is something they need to be aware of. And it's something that we've been talking about. So what are we doing now? Well, you have another document in front of you called the Heroin Toolkit. If you didn't get one of these, get one on your way out. There is a ton of things in here. There are signs and symptoms to look for. There are things on recovery as far as people that have suffered this and dealt with it and recovered from it. There are techniques and tools you can use. There are resources in there for treatment centers such as Sacred Heart Rehabilitation Center, recovery pathways that are here tonight. There's a lot of different things in there. There are the laws regarding that. What you should do if your child is using drugs, in the workplace, if you suspect an overdose. Addiction is a medical condition. That's what Chris Flores talked about a little bit earlier regarding that. Harm reduction, when someone you know you love is addicted, that's another thing. We've worked with the Sheriff's Department to do the drop boxes. There was a program called the Yellow Jug, Old Jug program that's now defunct. We're working with the Sheriff's Department right now to pick all those up that are there now and possibly look in the future to continue that program. So that's another thing that we're looking at. We're trying to keep coordinating with people like Pier 360 and making sure we're at their events. August 20th, they have a Day in the Park event, great event. If you've never been to one of the events, go. You will have the greatest time in the world, I guarantee you. We continue to educate, continue to talk to different people. But now we need to move forward because that's just the present. So what are the possibilities? There are many different possibilities. The jail is talking, and the courts are talking about Vivitrol. That's an example. The other example is, I was at a webinar this afternoon and talked about the medical community and what they can do. There's some things there that McLaren is going to be working with us on some different things across the spectrum. By the way, McLaren lost uses for nothing, so I think they should deserve a quick round of applause for that. And they've been a good partner to do with those things. We could continue to work with our legislators and help them to understand this. We can be an advocate for all those things that are going within the community. And finally, I can find it here somewhere on my papers. I have a call to action for you. If you could handle the evaluations that are going around right now. He said, what can you do? We gave you a list. We're not going to make it that easy for you. If you look at number 6 when it comes across, here's some things you can do tonight. And we challenge you to do at least one of these things. Another feature thing that's coming up is, which was really missing big time here in Bay County, was support for families dealing with this issue. Families that are against narcotics is coming to the Greater Lakes Area region. If you want to be involved in that and talk to that, let me know, or even let Lori know. Lori's here tonight. She's going to be one of the spearheads of that. Judge Gill is also on the board with that. Phil Lehman is also on the board with that. So we can talk a little bit about that. But I'm going to ask you, can you share the Heroin Toolkit? How hard is it to take the kit and share it? You can copy this, by the way. We have no problem with that. You can go to the Bay County Prevention Network website and download it, okay? Maybe you could just share this information you learned tonight at least one person. What if you took this Facebook Live and shared it on your Facebook page? That's easy to do. It takes a second. You can ask your doctor to sign Turn the Tide Pledge, which says that they're going to make sure that they're prescribing medication appropriately, that they're following standards. So we can do that green cross that Dr. Maroney talked about earlier. You can join the Project Hope as a partner. If you want to do that, put your name down there. That might be helping at an event, coming to a meeting, getting the information out, having small meetings within your community, certain citizen district council, even just at your home. Believe it or not, those are things you can do. Talk to your legislator. Let them know what your concerns are. Be a positive role model. When he talked about the medicine, 1 in 4 people that you go to their house will go into your house when they're there to look at your medicine and see what they can get. A lot of places that are selling homes leave their medicines in there. That's another issue to do. Educate people about addiction. Addiction is a disease. Yes, it starts out with a choice, but it goes towards a disease. Talk to people in recovery. They'll tell you. I've learned more about addiction from the recovery people than I did in my master's program for public health. Talk with your child, grandchild, niece, nephew about these things. Prevention is the key. That is the only way this tide is going to turn. Pray. If you're a person of faith, pray. Pray that this is something that's going to happen, that's going to change. You never know what can happen with that. Maybe you want to host a presentation. Maybe it's not, we can't get all of us there at your house, but maybe you want to do like a Tupperware type party where you have us come in and talk about this issue. We can do an easy 5, 10, 15-minute presentation. It's not that difficult. We have a small presentation, a short video clip that we can use from another program called Safe Journey, which talks to kids about this in the schools and also works with those that are in the pregnancies. Thank you again, Garrett, for that. And any other things that you can think of that might be involved in that. We challenge you to come up with something that you can do today. Now, if you have a card and you have something on it, we have Autumn here that will take your card, just pass it all the way to the end. Your and Janine, they'll take your card and we'll take your questions. I want to finish my talk with a story here. One day, a man was walking on the beach when he noticed a boy picking up and gently throwing things into the ocean. Approaching the boy, he said, "Young man, what are you doing?" The boy replied, "Throwing starfish back into the ocean. The surf is up and the tide is going out. If I don't throw them back, they'll die." The man laughed to himself and said, "Don't you realize there are miles and miles of beaches with hundreds of starfish? You can't make a difference." After listening politely, the boy bent down, picked up another starfish, and threw it into the surf, then smiling at the man and said, I made a difference to this one. And that's the same thing that we can do. There's a lot of people out there, if you read the comments and they say, I'll just throw them away. No. We can make a difference because it matters to that one individual, and you can change and affect one person's life. Thank you.
Okay. What is the task force? Can everybody hear me if I haven't held this thing down? What is the task force doing to promote marketing efforts of the substance use treatment providers that already exist that provide low cost or free services currently?
Currently, on our Lake County Hope webpage, there is a list of all those different resources available. We do have resource cards also that are available. We're promoting that on our Facebook page. So if you have another option or another suggestion, see me or one of the task force members, and we can help with that. So if any of the treatment people want to add anything to it.
Are there any new medications available for recovery that we haven't talked about already tonight?
I think we covered mainly those, that methadone, buprenorphine, naltrexone, and naloxone are the ones that are in fact taking place. Cost, we're continuing to try to bring the cost down. Again, that is a particular element. These medications are not cheap, but working with pharmaceuticals, trying to get more availability of Narcan nose spray, the aerosol, and bringing those particular elements and prices down.
Follow-up question, if medical doctors can prescribe Vicodin, why can't they prescribe recovery drugs?
That's what we need your help with. You've got doctors, you all have doctors. Now, there are certain medications that physicians have to be waived for. Buprenorphine, you have to have a special waiver application in order to prescribe that, as well as methadone. The doctor can prescribe methadone for pain management, but cannot prescribe that for substance use treatment. There's different guidelines. However, Vivitrol, and as Dr. Maroney always indicates about Narcan, if you're giving somebody an opiate, you should automatically be giving them a prescription for Narcan. Right now, we don't have enough physicians to participate in our medication-assisted therapy program. And in this community, we are limited in the amount of physicians that we have that are prescribers of buprenorphine, Suboxone. And we need more. And that could be something that we need all of you to be able to advocate and get out there. And there's a tremendous shortage in psychiatrists. There's just none.
Next question, when will the education model of instruction be in the schools, or is it already? That's probably a question for me. We just passed a bill a couple of months ago instructing the Michigan Department of Education to develop that module, and we hope to have it up and ready for the 2017-2018 school year, the school year that will start this fall.
Just want to add, the Neighborhood Resource Center does Handy Middle School, Western Middle School, Kramer Junior High, Central, Western. That's all I can think off the top of my head. Yeah, we do some in Essexville also we do education regarding that already. We've been doing that. We continue to do that for years with the staff of too. So we continue to use those resources as much as we can.
Next question. Many drug overdose victims are released directly from the emergency room department. Is there any possibility of mandatory or routine referrals to drug addiction and mental health services in the future?
Recovery coach.
Again, we try to do now in all these services. We've got families against narcotics, we've got the angels, there's a lot of various supports. The demand is greater than the supply, period. Residential treatment, the other services that are out here, for us to be able to, we want to make sure that we have highly qualified, trained individuals that are being able to provide that service. I talked about the physician piece. That's an area that we are going to need continual support with. So, yes.
There also is an initiative to train medical professionals in the hospitals to be able to constructively interact with people who have substance use issues in emergency rooms so that they can have conversations that would encourage people to think more about their substance use, offer treatment referrals, those kind of things. So that is also an initiative that's going on. Along with that, there's an initiative to again have more recovery coaches, individuals who are in recovery themselves, to be in hospital settings and emergency rooms, to be able to interact with individuals at that critical place. So those initiatives are in place, they need to grow.
How can parents or family members get access to Narcan? Other states, you can get it with a script. Is that possible in the state of Michigan?
A lot of the bigger stores right now are already carrying that. I mean, it's out there.
Bayer now Behavioral Health is a distributing place. So if they want to walk into our medicine clinic, they can get it.
Free, correct?
No problem.
But
Free.
Thank you very much.
Without prescriptions. Without prescriptions.
Karen, is there a cost associated with that?
No.
How can you tell if someone...
She has something recovery path.
I was just going to say that Narcan is now covered on the Medicaid formulary, so you could ask your doctor to write your prescription for one. That'd be a great way to start that too.
Thank you very much. No, okay, great. How can you tell if someone is addicted or have their fix for the day? Is there any behavior or symptoms that healthcare providers should look for?
on the medical side, we end up looking at a clinical opioid withdrawal. And, a part of that would be the palpitations, the complexion, the sweatiness, the aches and pains that you can end up feeling. And being able to sustain yourself by, in fact, having your opioid medication will, in fact, bring you to normal levels. After a while of the substance, it's a matter of just getting normal. It's not a matter of nodding out. It's not a matter of, just falling all over. That combination you end up getting with other types of medications. You have to always remember that heroin doesn't come with an ingredient label. So we oftentimes don't know what in fact it's covered with, what it's going to interact with. But what we're scaling people on to determine how we're going to titrate them is clinically by a clinical opioid withdrawal scale. That's medically looking at their pulse, their pupils, aches, palpitations, those sorts of things. Does that answer it?
What is being done by law enforcement to help prevent drugs coming or being sold in Bay County?
I would say the same thing. I mean, we're working a lot with the other area teams that are out there. We've got undercover agents that are out there. And we just had our guys have been educated, going through a lot of the same stuff, just what to look for out there and some of the skills that they've attained to. So, good.
Yes.
I got a question, like when the addict leaves the hospital, they seek drugs, when they leave the jail, they seek drugs. So is there any kind of help for them when they're released? Is there any benefits or any kind of drug education for the addict when he's released from jail that night? for that morning.
Unlike the programs that are in the jail, you mean that we're working on? You're saying once they get out, what do they
Yeah,
have?
maybe we have a plan if somebody identify themselves as an addict, and I'm an addict there, and I'm fit to be released. Is there any follow-through I can go to when I'm released that night? Can I have a place like West or Bay Psychological, some place that will assess them and get them into treatment, or get them on the Vivitrol shot, or get them what they
Different places. And that's one of the things I know that Gilsley's been thrown around, but that's one of the things, we've looked into those type of things too with the Vivitrol. That's something that, I know Chris talked about too, that hopefully will be coming soon, where they get into those programs, or if they start getting into, I don't know if you're talking like once they're just out with like the tri-caps that they're sentenced to and stuff, or going through, but there's
I can comment on that. I know I'm a recovery coach for, and I work with the girls with TRICAP. When they are able to go out of TRICAP, they go to James Street Clinic in Saginaw to continue their Vivitrol monthly injections because they just feel comfortable over there. So James Street.
Has any thought been given to developing a symbol that could go with the patient's information that flags the chart so the patient is not prescribed opiates? Some people in recovery can be sabotaged if they go to the dentist, for example.
No. There has been discussions with, about electronic medical records, about possibly putting something in there about a flag. I've had some discussions, something that's getting looked at. Once again, electronic medical records are a whole different thing to look at, so it is something that is being looked at.
We have 42 CFR, you're familiar with it, federal regulations that protect our client confidentiality. And there's HIPAA and there's 42 CFR. And a part of that is if you're identified, that's why in methadone clinics, that's not in MAPS or in the prescribing when you're identified. That's why in many cases we can't label an individual as being an addict because you're protected along that line. And at what point, that you can progress and you can do some things. But we have to be careful as to how we do this. A lot of it is for education. Rather than identifying the patient, we're focusing on identifying and giving the symptoms and educating the prescribers of what to look for. These are the tools. Anybody that's approaching, our particular practice, they should end up looking into the prescribing system. Where have they been? What have they been prescribing? Taking urinalysis, doing counts, those sorts of things. So the tools are there. Our concern is putting a label, identifying an individual. It breaks their confidentiality.
And from a recovery standpoint, that's really important. Because oftentimes the individual comes to present to a medical facility. If they are acknowledged as having a substance use issue, they are oftentimes denied appropriate service. As a recovery person, there may be times later on when holding their prescribed medication is absolutely appropriate. But there's a flag that says you can't have it. As well as the fact that we know that the stigma continues to exist within the medical profession. And so people are oftentimes, because of that stigma, treated differently. We had experience of a good 6 years being involved with the SDSU Medical Student Program. And they were training the individuals to know how to interact with people who present substance use issues. And they used us as real life people. It was very interesting because the feedback we got after that was real consistent. The individuals who were in that class were all people who already working in medical care.
Hello.
And what they said back to us was that when people with substance use issues present in the emergency rooms, they try not to provide services to them. They try to avoid caring for them. And they were mad at them for all kinds of reasons. Fortunately, after interacting with us, there was a change of heart. And we had to recognize us as human beings and more willing, after that session was over, indicated to be more willing to treat people with respect and preserve their dignity. Prior to our coming here, it was all was about, you come in and you have a team, I'm ready to try to work with you if I possibly can. Stay.
Just want to clarify, I wasn't talking about identifying somebody has an addiction. There's some program down in Ohio where if somebody gets too many opioid prescriptions, it flags it to remind them there's an issue. Not about identifying a person's addiction, because I would never want stigma. I understand that tremendously from my discussions up here at 360.
Does Lake County have a drug court? And if it does, can someone volunteer for it? Is this something that's only for use after an incident?
We do have a
Yeah.
and it's been growing since 2011. It is limited to people in the criminal justice system. I think we've had some success, and we're going to keep plugging away.
Thank you very much. Do people know that if spoons are all of a sudden missing from their silverware inventory, that is a sign of heroin abuse? I wonder if someone could just talk a little bit about things like that to look for overall.
Grab the kit. That's the easiest way to find. Paraphernalia. It's in the, that information is involved in your heroin toolkit. Things to look for. I know paraphernalia is in here, I've seen it before. I have a video on that. What I'll do is I'll put my video on Facebook that shows you what to look for. So, go ahead.
Very good. I think we've covered all of them, or at least been answered partially through the responses to other questions. Just a final one. What are the criminal penalties for drugs if a person is in need of help? What's the current status of that?
As far as, like the law, as far as if somebody's getting, I guess, are you saying if they're an overdose or something like that, can we get called through? Is that what the question is? I mean, there's not prosecution on that right now. You know, if somebody gets, there's an overdose, it's like the Good Samaritan law they're doing, where if we get called out to a house or if somebody's overdosed, whether they're still there with heroin or whatever, we're not doing anything with it right now. I mean, that's a law they passed just because they need help in the addiction thing. And it's the same if I was to call on him, for instance, if something happened and we had the heroin, it's just the Good Samaritan because they're, you know, it's the lives right now we're trying to save. So that's kind of what that's falling under, if that answers that.
I personally know someone that had overdosed and she was charged with a felony. And the police officer that responded said that they are charging the people that overdosed now with felony. That's what's.
No, there's an issue like that.
This was last July, I believe.
It was. Where effective date, but that was, I think, in the packet that was mentioned earlier that was passed by the legislature. It was a recent change. It can't correct it.
Yes, this happened last year.
All right, thank you for all the questions. Just really quick, BayCountyHope.org is our website. There's a video on there that has no those signs, and it's from Cuyahoga County in Ohio. It's really good. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and take a look at it. I will put it on our Facebook page additionally. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Everybody have a great night. Thank you.